And there's an acceptance of evolution nowadays that really affects doctrinal beliefs, because the scriptures get moved around, they get changed, and everybody says, well, the Bible, that's just made up. I even get that from my pupils every single day of the week. Although a lot of them are coming around to the view that it's amazing that the Bible has predicted many things, and it has also shown that from science, of course, that the Adam and Eve story could be true if the world isn't billions of years old. Now I'm going to show you, go into detail in this seminar and go into detail regarding all the things I've just said, regarding the church, regarding evolutionism, and regarding creationism. Most thinking people agree that a highly ordered universe exists, and secondly, at least one planet in this complex universe contains an amazing variety of life forms, and that man, thirdly, appears to be the most advanced form of life on the planet. Now, you've got two choices as far as I can see. Either the world created itself, it's self-existent, or it's always existed, or God created it. I think there are choices of how the observed phenomena came into being. In other words, the universe was created by God, firstly. Secondly, the universe has always existed, or it came into itself by purely natural processes. So, but evolution has been acclaimed as being the only process capable of causing the observed phenomena. And that's the problem. And it's presented in the schools and in the media as if firstly, it brought time, space, and matter into existence. Secondly, it organized that matter into galaxies, stars, and at least 9 planets around the sun. Thirdly, it created the life that exists on at least one of the planets from non-living materials. That would be chemical evolution. Fourthly, it caused the living creatures to be capable of and interested in reproducing themselves. And fifthly, it caused the first life forms to spontaneously diversify into all the different forms of living things, such as the plants and animals that you see on the earth today, which is biological evolution. People believe in evolution, folks. They don't know it's true. And beliefs are certainly fine to have. I'm not against you believing something. But it's not fair to force on students or on the public any teaching or one belief at the taxpayer's expense. You must provide the opposite side to the story. It's my contention that evolution is a religious worldview. It's a belief system. It's not supported by science, scripture, or popular opinion, or common sense. I mean, the exclusive teaching of what I say, of dangerous, mind-altering philosophy in our schools as a fact is wrong. I don't mind you teaching it in a sense, but I'd rather that the other side of the story was got, and I do teach the other side of the story. I think that the evolutionists are convinced of their theory, and I think that there's no historical or empirical evidence for the theory. I believe the Earth isn't billions of years old, which would destroy the possibility of evolution having happened as it is being taught. I'm going to show you that in a minute, how it's not billions of years old. No animal has ever been observed changing into any fundamentally different kind of animal, which is what evolution is. No one has ever observed life spontaneously arriving from non-living material. And matter cannot make itself out of nothing. And the proponents of the theory of evolution would do well to admit that they believe in evolution, but they don't know that it happened the way they teach. They should call their evolution a faith or a religion and stop including it in the books of science. If you want to have a belief, well then, go out and form your own religion, but please keep it out of the science books. Science is what we can observe and study and test, and it is science. It's not a belief. There are no beliefs in a science book. Now, of course, if you do want to have that in your science books, well then include the creation in with it as well, you see. So there's a bias going on, and I want a fair playground for everybody. I think we should give up the faith in the silly religion of evolutionism and trust in the God of the Scriptures, who is the creator of this universe and will be our judge. He's going to be my judge one day soon, and to forgive me and save me from a certain coming judgment. Now, when I use the word evolution, let's define our terms here. When I use the word evolution, I'm not referring to the minor variations found in all the various life forms. In other words, microevolution. I'm referring to the general theory of evolution, which believes these 5 major events took place without God. In other words, time, space, and matter came into existence by itself. Planets and stars formed from space dust. Matter created itself. Early life forms learned to reproduce themselves, and major changes occurred between the diverse life forms. In other words, fish changed to amphibians, amphibians changed to reptiles, reptiles changed to birds, and consequently, here we are. Folks, there are 6 different meanings to the word evolution, I believe. First of all, you'd have to have cosmic evolution, the origin of time, space, and matter, i.e. that's the Big Bang. I'm going to get into detail on the Big Bang in a few minutes. But cosmic evolution, nobody's seen that happening except God. He was there. Yet Christians answer that, creationists answer that by, in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. That's Genesis chapter 1 verse 1. In the beginning, that's time, God created the heaven and the earth. That's space and matter. And you've got those trinity of trinities in one sentence. It's absolutely incredible. Then you would have to have chemical evolution, the origin of higher elements from hydrogen. So that's the second thing you'd have to have. We don't see that. You can't get past, I think, even the helium mass 4 gap. Some say you can by fusion. I don't know. But I think you can't get past iron. And there are 92 elements plus the synthetic ones. You've got to get, how do you get to uranium, for instance? It's impossible from hydrogen. Come on. I mean, thirdly, you'd have to have stellar and planetary evolution, the origin of stars and planets. We don't see stars being created out there. We see stars blow up, and if that's what you call creation, well then okay. But novas and supernovas, they explode, and then you get bits flying off, and that produces another star. But in other words, there are no stars evolving out there from gases. We don't see it happen. Fourthly, organic evolution, you'd have to have origin of life from inanimate matter. We don't see that today. Life does not come from non-living materials. Fifthly, you have macroevolution. In other words, all the major kinds of animals came from a primitive organism billions of years ago. Macro, big change. We don't see that happening today. And microevolution is variation within the kinds. Only this one has been observed. The first 5 are religious. They are believed by faith, even though there's no empirical evidence to prove them in any way. Now, I admire the great faith of the evolutionists who accept the first 5, but I object to having this religious propaganda included in with legitimate science at the taxpayer's expense. If you're going to have a belief in the science books, belief system, then include the other belief systems. But if not, then get rid of it, get it out. So a quick review of your school textbook, your biology textbook, and even your RE books. I mean, I've read, I'm using some books at the moment, a Religion for Living series, and Connie Duffy writes it, and it's a brilliant book, and I enjoy what Connie does in there. Fantastic book, Religion for Living, but even it is biased toward the evolutionary view, billions of years and all that, and evolving from apes. But I'm going to show you later that all the apes were apes and the men were men, and there's no ape men. So we've been deceived into thinking that all 6 types of evolution, as I've just described here, have been proven because evidence is given for minor variations, called microevolution. Well, the first 5 are smuggled in when no one's watching. I mean, it's a classic case of bait and switch. It's a deception. I mean, salesmen have gone to jail for that. You bait somebody to come to your showroom and say, oh yes, and I got a Mercedes for, €5,000. And then when everybody gets there, they say, no, we sold that. We're now, this one over here is for 100,000. Come on. Bait to get everybody in, and then switch the price on them. For goodness sake, you can go to jail for it. Bait one of the first 5 meanings of evolution: cosmic, chemical, stellar, organic, macro, and then you basically said microevolution adds up to macro, but it doesn't. It doesn't. Only the last one, microevolution, is scientific. I don't like the word, but I'm going to use it anyway. Things do change. If you say, Donnelly, you think things don't change. Of course it changed. I mean, I'm 43 years of age now and I'm changed. I mean, I'm starting to get wrinkles on my face. I'm starting to get older. I mean, I'm not decrepit yet, by the way, but I mean, we're going to say things do change. I'm not against change in my physique and various things that they're kind of cosmetic changes. And there's various species out there, but I mean, a dog and a cat, for instance. Well, they're from the dog kind and the cat kind. God created the different kinds. And that's what happened. He created the different kinds, and animals and plants bring forth after their kind. Nobody's ever seen a dog produce a non-dog. So, I really believe that even evidence of minor change within the same kind of plant or animal doesn't qualify as evidence that will evidence for evolution. For instance, doubling the chromosome number of a sterile hybrid doesn't add additional genetic information. It duplicates what is already present in the parent plant. And because of the absence of additional genetic information, the resultant plant can't be classified as different or a new species. The plant may differ in a number of ways, bigger, vigorous, as observed in any polyploid plants. And this such easily recognizable phenotypic changes have confused many people. Some evolutionists have jumped to the conclusion that a new species has been evolved. Well, the key is that no new genetic information has been added. Even a new species isn't proof for evolution, as I'm saying. Some then insisted on the precise definition of the word kind. John, what do you mean by the word kind? Well, the Bible defines kind as those that are able to bring forth or reproduce. And those animals that were originally able to reproduce were of the same kind. There may be a diversity now, 6,000 years later, that could cause some varieties of the original kind not to be able to reproduce now. For example, some rabbits from Alaska can't breed with rabbits from Florida. But they're still the same kind of animal, and every kid knows it's a rabbit, because it looks like a rabbit, and it walks like a rabbit, and it jumps like a rabbit. I mean, it's obvious that a dog and a wolf, for instance, are the same kind of animal. They're currently classed as different species, yet are interfertile. What is the precise definition of species anyway? But folks, seriously, what is the real definition of species? Different books will give you a different definition. Well, species are interfertile. They can reproduce. And I don't believe a dog and a fish can reproduce, do you? Of course not. But various types, or I would say species of dog, can reproduce. But there must have been one basic species of the dog family. Maybe it was a wolf going way back, maybe 5,000 or 6,000 years ago. I don't know, but there would have had to have been one basic kind of animal, since animals can't change into each other, which is currently what the evolutionists are positing. They say that they don't say that, but in actual fact they do, because they say that over time, given enough time, things will change. I mean, only the other day, scientists said 100,000 years from now, humans will have developed totally different structure, in their body. Their brains will be more highly developed and this kind of thing. Well, he doesn't know that. There's no proof in that. And don't you fall for that. Now, while there may be some blurry areas that would be worthy of research in defining the original kinds, rather than muddy the issue with these type of questions, it'd be wise to focus on the obvious cases, like dog and fish comparison. These are obviously different kinds of animals. So for the sake of clarity, prove the dog and fish evolved from a common ancestor. They can't do it. The honest scientist would be wise to admit that no evidence exists that could begin to prove the dog and the fish have a common ancestor, which is what evolution says they do. Now, scientists may believe that they are related, but that's not science, and that is my point.